So good afternoon. My name is Claudia Arias. Thank you for joining us today. I currently work with the Logrando Bienestar program, which translates to the Achieving Wellbeing program. The program is located within the Department of Behavioral Health here in Ventura County. Um, the main goal of our program is to assist individuals in accessing behavioral health services for themselves or for their loved ones. This afternoon, my colleague Liz Morales and I will be presenting an educational workshop, which was designed by Dr. Stephen Lopez from the University of Southern California and Dr. Carmen Lara from the Benemérita Autonomous University of Puebla in Mexico. The objective of this presentation this afternoon is to start a conversation about a very difficult topic, an issue that people often avoid discussing. We're going to talk about mental health and mental illness and the reasons why it is so important. Our wish is that you continue this conversation with your families and friends. Throughout this presentation, we'll learn how to use the word clave to recognize the three main symptoms of a serious mental illness. We'll also watch a film about the life of Adriana, who's a young woman going through a divorce, and at the same time, she's showing signs of mental illness. After the film, we'll go ahead and share our views about the film and identify the symptoms of La Clave in Adriana. We'll also discuss why it is sometimes very difficult for individuals to seek help. And at the end of our workshop, we'll share with you phone numbers that you can contact if you'd like to access behavioral health services. And you will also have an opportunity to ask questions. As Dr. Jamie mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, this will be an interactive presentation. So please feel free to use the chat at the bottom of your screen to share your thoughts during the presentation. I'd like to start today's presentation by asking a very general question. When you hear or when you think about the word mental health, what comes to mind? What does mental health mean to you? And we'll go ahead and give you a couple of seconds to share your thoughts.
Claudia, here in the chat, some individuals say their emotions and how they're feeling.
Yes, so mental health has to do with our emotions, our feelings, right? Our thoughts. It has a great influence on how we act, how we relate to others. Someone also said our emotional well-being, right? It also affects how we make decisions in our lives and how we handle stress. Yes, someone also mentioned how we respond to the world around us. Tonight's presentation will focus on mental illness. And mental illness is a category that includes really a broad range of health conditions that deal both with the mind and with the behavior of people. What are some of the mental health illnesses, mental health problems that you have heard about? And once again, if you can share your thoughts on the chat. Depression, anxiety. Yeah, someone also mentioned schizophrenia, bipolar, mood disorders. Yeah, autism, PTSD. Yes, all those are among the long list of mental health illnesses. Today, we're going to focus on a group of conditions which we will call serious mental illness. It's true that any illness can be serious. So someone can be very anxious and decide not to leave their house, or someone can feel very depressed and have suicidal ideation. We're going to refer to severe mental illness as a condition that is characterized by three indicators. and we'll refer to them as the clave, which is also the title of our presentation. And I just want to pause here to mention that this presentation was originally developed in Spanish, or for the Spanish-speaking audience. And clave translates to the key. So we're going to use this word. We're going to use the word clave to help us recognize and to remember the symptoms of a serious mental illness. Each of the letters in the word clave represent a symptom. And it's important to note as well that not all three symptoms that we'll be covering they do not need to be present. All three do not need to be present in order to be considered a serious mental illness. So we can see one symptom and the condition can be considered a serious mental illness. So the next slide on your screen is a brochure that shares information about the word clave and the symptoms. And I now would like to take an opportunity to share more information about the three key symptoms. The first letter of the word clave is C, and C stands for false beliefs. In Spanish, it translates to creencias falsas. In English, I think an easy way to remember what C stands for is to think of the word creating false beliefs. A false belief is an irrational idea that a person thinks it's real. So usually people with severe illnesses have several false beliefs. They think, for example, that someone wants to harm them. And just as another example, when they leave the house, they may think that people are following them or watching them. In very serious cases, they may even think that their family wants to harm them. The second letter is L, and L stands for disorganized speech or disorganized language. So when you think of L, think of language, disorganized speech, disorganized language. And this symptom is present when a person speaks, but really doesn't make sense, right? Often they may jump from one topic to another without clearly connecting the topics or the ideas. A person who talks in this way cannot really hold a conversation because they're jumping from one topic to another. And at times they may say something that really doesn't have to do with the subject of the conversation. The third letter is A, and it stands for hallucinations. And hallucinations can be divided into two types: seeing or hearing things that do not exist. The letter V under the word clave represents seeing things that others do not see. So for example, a person who is experiencing a visual hallucination may say that they see people, that they see things, or lights that are not really there. It may also be that they think that they see things a little distorted. And lastly, the letter E represents hearing voices or talking to someone who is not present. So for example, a person may say that they hear voices or noises or laughter that do not exist. Sometimes people may say that they hear voices in their head that tells them to do things. Or other times we can observe the individual talking and laughing to themselves just as if they were talking to someone else. Now, we're going to take a couple of minutes now to show you a film about Adriana's story. And we'll see the symptoms that we'll just discussed using the word clave reflected in the film. The symptoms are real, but the people are our actors. And Juan, I think at this time we're ready for the film.
Hola, hijita.
Héctor.
estás? ¡Mua! Ay, qué bueno que trajiste los Legos. ¿Vamos a jugar?
Sí. Ay, finalmente estás aquí para que terminemos con esto. Vamos.
Todo esto no es mío. ¿Fue papá el que te pidió que hicieras esto?
No,
Se cansó de ver mi cochinero.
no, solo quiero recuperar mi garage. Quiero hacer artesanías con mis comadres para venderlas y comprar una estatua nueva de Jesús. A la que está en la iglesia le falta un pie y queremos que el padre Pérez esté contento.
Mejor le puedo pagar a alguien para que venga a recoger mis cosas y las meta en una bodega.
Ay, Adriana, por favor, tú no necesitas todo esto. La mayoría de estas cosas es pura basura. Mira esto, basura. Una taza sucia.
No la puedo tirar. Tengo que ver todas mis cajas. Tengo que encontrar las pruebas.
¿Las pruebas?
Sí, las pruebas. Yo sé que todo está aquí. Yo sé que Luis me estaba haciendo infiel y por eso se divorció de mí.
A ver, fíjate a ver qué quieres de aquí. Aquí va la basura y esto va para la iglesia. Oye, mija, ¿cómo te está yendo con lo del divorcio?
¿Aceptas que este sapo sea tu sándwich? Solo si puedo volar lejos con las palomas. Y luego escaparme al carnaval y comprar una aspiradora y limpiar las nubes.
Mija, ¿qué estás diciendo?
No, padre. Ese hombre no es un hombre. Él es el hombre a mi lado, pero no es el hombre que está junto a usted en la iglesia.
Mija, no entiendo nada de lo que estás diciendo.
Él va a regresar. Cuando encuentre las pruebas, vas a ver.
Ay, mija, yo no creo que Luis vaya a regresar.
Sí, va a regresar. Él tiene una cámara escondida por aquí y me está viendo para ver si aún lo amo. Y cuando soy fiel y que tengo las pruebas, él va a regresar.
Mija, ¿cómo le está yendo a Héctor con todo esto del divorcio?
Tengo que averiguar quién es esta tal Lucía. Mira,
Mija, Lucía es tu segundo nombre. Esta carta está dirigida a ti.
mentiras, mentiras. Este es el nombre de su amante.
Adriana, ¿dónde vas? Adriana, ven acá.
¡No! ¡Tú lo estás ayudando! Quieres deshacerte de las pruebas porque siempre lo has querido a él más que a mí.
¡Adriana! Esto es un desastre. No te preocupes. Yo te ayudo. Bueno, pero ya no. El próximo sábado. Gracias. Ay, qué bonitos.
Héctor los dejó para cuando venga la semana que entra. ¿Cómo te fue?
Adriana se enojó y se fue. No quiere ayudar en nada.
Qué tonta. Pásamela.
Agárrala tú.
Mildred y su esposa, Carlota. Como no, joven, también se lo puedo decir, nomás que para eso hay que documentarse. Según datos que he podido recopilar en mis horas de insomnio en la Enciclopedia Británica, mire, ellos vivieron aquí desde que llegaron, hasta como quien dice que don Maxi entregó el equipo por culpa de doña Carlota. Porque, ¿sabe usted? Porque también, ¿sabe usted?
Ese Cantinflas estaba loco, pero muy gracioso.
De verdad.
Le darán la bienvenida a un nuevo mercado de seguros médicos Access.
¿Está todo bien?
Sí. No.
¿Qué pasa?
Es Adriana.
¿Qué le pasa?
Está muy cambiada. A veces ni se parece a mi hija. Está muy desconfiada.
Quizá necesite ayuda.
Mi hija está bien, lo que pasa es que el divorcio le pegó muy duro.
Mira, ya está.
Permítelo.
Ponlo del mismo color si quieres.
Yo sé que estás tratando de esconderte. ¿Tú crees que puedes entrar aquí y decirme que todas esas mujeres no significaron nada para ti? Admítelo, Luis. Admítelo.
Mami.
Luis, mírame. No te puedes ir. Mírame, Luis. Luis, mírame.
No hay nadie aquí.
Qué canción tan triste. Pobre mujer traicionada por su mejor amiga.
Sí, esta canción, Sofía, es triste. María, ¿se te ha ocurrido pensar que tu hija puede tener algo serio?
No, claro que no, ¿por qué?
Hace unos años mi hijo estaba actuando de una manera muy extraña.
¿Tu hijo el contador? No, ¿de veras?
Sí. Cuando salía a la calle, creía que la gente se burlaba de él. Y luego decía que alguien lo estaba siguiendo para matarlo. Resultó que no estaba pensando bien. Tenía una enfermedad mental y desde entonces está en tratamiento.
No, pero mi hija no está loca. Solo está triste y enojada.
Comadre, esta canción no es sobre una mujer que fue traicionada por su amiga. Se trata de una mujer que sufre un problema mental.
Ay, Silvia, ¿de verdad crees que Adriana tiene un problema serio?
Sí. Mira, yo te traje una información que me dieron en la clínica de mi hijo. Entre más pronto Adriana reciba ayuda, más rápida será su recuperación. Mira, esta clínica es muy buena. Hay 3 señales importantes. Y la clave nos dice cuáles son. La letra C es para creencias falsas. La segunda señal es la L. Es para el lenguaje cuando está desorganizado. Y la A para las alucinaciones. Puede haber 2 tipos de alucinaciones. La B es cuando ven cosas que no existen. Y la E es cuando escuchan cosas que no están ahí. ¿Has visto las señales de la clave en Adriana?
Creo que sí. Ay, no, pobrecita. Mi hija ya tiene muchos problemas.
María, no te preocupes. Hay ayuda para las personas con enfermedades mentales. Mi hijo recibió la ayuda. Y toma medicamentos y está en terapia, pero ahora está mucho mejor.
¡Pare de espiarme! ¡Pare de espiarme! Yo sé que él la envió, devuélvemelo. Pero estaba en la basura. ¿Luis se va a casar con usted? Ni siquiera le pudo conseguir su propio velo.
¿De qué está hablando?
¡Ey! ¿Qué está pasando aquí? ¡Ella me robó a mi marido!
¿Qué pasa aquí?
Si no me deja en paz, voy a llamar a la policía.
Ay, no, por favor, ella no lo hizo a propósito. De verdad.
Está loca.
Bueno, ¿qué te pasa?
¡Cámaras!
¿Qué traes?
¡Hay cámaras!
Contrólate, Adriana. Adriana,
¡Hay cámaras!
¿cuáles cámaras?
¡Cámaras!
Adriana. Adriana, por favor.
Hija, necesitas ayuda.
Sí, necesito ayuda para encontrar las cámaras. Para saber dónde vive ahora. Para poder ir a verlo.
¿Qué haces, Adriana? ¿Quieres que te metan a la cárcel? ¿Eso es lo que quieres? Adriana, mírame. Tranquila.
Adriana, tenemos que hablar contigo.
Estamos preocupados por ti.
Necesitas ayuda y yo sé dónde conseguirla.
No necesito ayuda.
Hija, prefiero llevarte yo misma a la clínica que un policía te tenga que llevar.
Tu mamá tiene razón, hija. Escúchala.
Héctor, mijo, usa los dedos así para darle forma a los pétalos.
¿Así?
No, así, para adentro. Entonces agarras esto.
Sí, ¿verdad?
Uy, hace mucho que no la veo. ¿Vas a querer pan?
¡Qué rico!
Voy a ir a saludarla.
Sí.
Adriana,
Silvia.
¿cómo has estado?
Ha sido difícil. Estoy mejor porque me he tomado los medicamentos y hago la terapia.
Tuviste suerte que tus papás se dieron cuenta pronto y te llevaron a la clínica.
Yo sé.
Porque entre más temprano empieza el tratamiento, mejores son los resultados.
¿Puedes creer que la última vez que te vi fue cuando el pleito con la mujer desamparada?
De acuerdo, perfecto.
¿Y que la acusaste de que te quería robar tu ex esposo?
Ay, sí.
No es que ahora todo sea perfecto, pero estamos mucho mejor.
Sí.
Ay, mi amor. Vámonos a trabajar.
Ven, Héctor. Vamos a hacer las flores estas que te había dicho. La agarras y lo pones con este que es como amarillo y le haces así bonito y las vas abriendo poco a poco.
Creo que ya.
Y luego agarras y le pones el...
Thank you, Juan, for putting up the film. Give me just 1 minute to put up our PowerPoint presentation, please. I'd like you to reflect on the film. What did you think of the film? Has anyone heard of someone with a similar experience? I'd like to give you a few seconds to share some responses.
Me gustan los animales, al igual que mí. Me parece una persona de buen corazón, honesto, y para mí esas son cualidades bien especiales. Muchas gracias.
So some may think that this film is can be very touching to them, and some may be able to relate with and have a similar or know somebody that was going through a similar experience. But now that we watched the film, can we review each of the symptoms of the clave using the example of Adriana's story? Do you remember what the letter C in the word clave represents? I'll give you a few seconds to respond. And I'll also give you a hint. It starts with creating something. That's right, creating false beliefs. And thinking back on Adriana's story, do you recall at what point in the film did Adriana present a false belief? And what was that false belief? If you recall, Adriana thought that there was cameras around her. She also had a belief that there was evidence in the garage that her husband was cheating on her. Somebody responded with her wedding dress. She thought that the individual going through the trash was trying to take some of part of her wedding dress. Yes, thank you for your responses. And Adriana had a false belief, as mentioned, that there were cameras in her parents' home. And as someone mentioned, she also believed that her ex-husband, Luis, was having an affair, and she needed to find this evidence to have proof of the affair. Now, moving on to the next letter, do you remember what the letter L in the word clave represents? That's right, disorganized language. So L represents a type of disorganized language or disorganized speech. And thinking back on the film, was there a time where Adriana was experiencing some of these symptoms of disorganized speech? Someone also mentioned talking and not making sense. That's right. Someone responded with in the garage. That's correct. If you recall, in the garage, she was carrying a conversation with her mom or trying to carry a conversation, but she would jump from one topic to another when not making much sense, and her mom was not able to understand her. This is a form of disorganized speech. Now let's move on to the letter A, which represents hallucinations. And there are two different types of hallucinations, if you remember, if you recall, which are presented by the letters V and E. The letters V and E are for seeing and hearing things that do not exist. When did we see that Adriana had hallucinations of seeing things that do not exist? I'll give you a few seconds to respond. That's right. Someone in the chat mentioned she was looking into the air, and then when she was also talking to a picture outside. That's correct. In Adriana's case, she was seeing Luis when she's in the backyard, and even though he's not there, she's not only seeing him, but she's also hearing him because she's carrying a full conversation with this picture frame. So that is a form of hallucination, both visual and hearing things that are not there. But in addition to learning the symptoms of a severe mental illness, we want participants to reflect on some of the barriers that prevent people from seeking treatment. And there are many reasons why we sometimes do not identify the signs of a mental illness. And one of the reasons is that often we think that the changes in the behavior are due to life problems. And we do not consider that the behavior changes are part of an illness. And it is possible that both life problems and an illness are present in a person. But when they manifest symptoms like those of La Clave, it is important that the person seek professional help to figure out what is happening to them. Now, let me ask you a question, and I already see some really great responses here in the chat. Let me ask you a question. What are some of the reasons why people do not seek help when experiencing symptoms of mental illness? Go ahead and feel free to put some more responses in the chat. But someone here mentioned denial, stigma, or thinking that it's not normal. That's right. Someone may not have an insight, or they may be embarrassed. Thank you for sharing. It can also be due to culture, stigma, or the fear of judgment. That's right, such really great responses here. Someone may have low self-esteem, or they may be in denial. And so many great responses here. Thank you for your responses. Another individual mentioned that they can't see it themselves. Maybe they are not able to recognize what they're going through. Or someone here mentioned really great responses that they don't want to seem crazy. Those are all really great responses on what are some of the reasons, and there's maybe a really long list of reasons why individuals may not seek help when they're experiencing mental illness. And one of the barriers is that they attribute the behavior to life problems. Like in the film, if you recall, the mother thinks that Adriana's behavior is due to her divorce. In other cases, relatives think that the changes they observe may be due to either stress at work or difficulties with the relationship with their significant other. And reflecting on the film, Adriana's parents did not consider the possibility of a mental illness. Another barrier is not recognizing the symptoms, as many of you have mentioned, not recognizing the symptoms of a mental illness. Now, both barriers prevent people from seeking help quickly. And in the case of Adriana, it wasn't until the neighbor that came to help Adriana's parents by giving them the information. That's what led them to seek help, which contributed to Adriana getting better. So to conclude, we'd like to share two important points with you. First, we want to use La Clave, the tool that we learned, to identify a serious mental illness. If you see these symptoms of a severe mental illness in someone, please get professional help as soon as possible. We'd also like you to take the message to your family and your friends and tell them that mental illness is treatable. If you or anyone you know is in need of behavioral health services, you please call Ventura County Ventura County Access and Crisis Line. And there's the phone number here in this slide. It's 1-866-998-2243. I'd like to thank you for your attendance and your participation in today's La Clave presentation.